Does anyone have questions they would like for me to try and answer? Yes.
When you were talking about the abdominal fat, is that cortisol that you were talking about?
Cortisol and estrogen are their partners. Because your brain, when you're feeling stress, secretes the cortisol. And then while you have the cortisol in your system, it'll increase the estrogen levels in your body. And the estrogen and the cortisol. I think they're still trying to figure out which one does the other, but having high levels of estrogen, and when you have high levels of toxin, they've related high levels of toxin in your body to elevated estrogen.
Is there a correlation? Is there an expectation, I guess I should ask, of how much estrogen a woman should have, and then if you're above that level, it ends up being belly fat, or how does that work?
Yes, but it is on an individual basis. So for them to just tell you that if you have, and I don't know what the measurements are for that, but they would kind of have to try and get a baseline of where you're at, and then they can test for it. And they know for people about your age and size, where you should, where the normal would be, and then if you're...
Then you don't need no estrogen.
I was asking for a friend, because I'm 28.
Excellent. So does that answer your question? Okay.
She
Any
gonna
other
hook her
questions?
friend up now.
Yeah.
Are there any negative side effects that you've experienced, even if it was just temporary?
There is, there's one called Epimedius, and it's known as horny goat weed.
I got that tea in my office.
Do you? You got some horny goat weed tea?
I do.
It is very high in nitric oxide, which is something that I take for bodybuilding because it helps, once again, with blood circulation. And what I noticed is that I can get headaches if I take too much from it. And it's headaches in a weird place, because I'll get sinus headaches sometimes from the pine pollen. I'll get a pressure headache in the back of my head where I haven't ever gotten that anywhere else. But as far as, it's more been the taste has really done things. I will say the first couple of times I tried this, I didn't dilute it enough, and it about made me throw up from the taste.
Okay.
So if it's not really a side effect, but it is a consideration. What I would make sure that you do is, if you're on any meds, is that you kind of look through and do the research to see how they're going to interact. Because with this being food, it's a lot less likely. And what I also recommend is, everything on here says, like for the pine pollen, it says a half to 1 teaspoon twice a day. Like I said, I take half a teaspoon once a day. I start off at about half or a quarter of what they say and see if I have some results. Now I will say, how are we doing on time? If you don't mind, one of the things I found with this, because this was the first thing I started taking, and I lift weights a lot in my house, and I was working out at the gym before they told us contractors that we couldn't work out there anymore. And I would, being in my 50s, I'd get sore for 4 or 5 days after a lift, whereas in my 20s and 30s, I'd be sore for like 2 days. When I started taking this, I didn't realize it, but after about 2 months, I wasn't getting sore. I would have tight muscles for a day, and then the next day it'd be gone. I started taking some other stuff about 6 months ago, and I stopped taking this because they were kind of similar, and I wanted to see what kind of effects I was getting. And I worked out, and after about 3 weeks of not taking this, and all of a sudden that soreness wasn't 5 days, but it went to 3 days instead of 1 day. So I could definitely feel that by not taking this, I was getting sore a lot more for a lot longer. So it's definitely, a lot of this stuff you don't quite, some of it will hit you real quick, and some of it you have to build up. So once again, it's food, and it's a supplement, but it's not going to overpower you like medicine. you know, like you take a Claritin D, and there's some Sudafed from over the counter that you got to sign for. I've had heart palpitations and other stuff from taking that, just trying to decongest, so that's really, really rough.
I spoke to someone and she said that she had been taking different herbs for years,
Mhm.
and she came to find out that those herbs were actually hurting her heart. And how do you know that these are safe?
Okay, for one, I'm only buying them from one place, and these people take their own herbs. So that's one thing. They do spend, and they're going to cost more. So if you're just going to Amazon and buying stuff, it's kind of insidious. As I've done some research, if you see like talc or silicone dioxide or other things in the supplements that you buy and the vitamins, and if you go to Walmart or even Everman's, you're going to find a lot of additives. Talc is a flow agent, and if you've seen, Johnson & Johnson is now being sued because women have been using baby powder for years, and they're finding out that there's a good possibility that talc has been causing uterine cancer and other things of that nature. They use talc as a flow agent in a lot of pill supplements. So that's one of the reasons why I went with more, this is just a straight herb type of thing, where they're just may ingest it, so you just don't know. But is that a question? Or
I had a question, yes. I figured that doing this you didn't notice.
Okay.
I had a herbal exam, I guess you would. It was kind of like balancing the body to see what the body was missing.
Right.
And they said I was low on my yang. Are
Okay.
you familiar with?
Uh-huh.
And because it's for essential oils, and they recommended that I use the essential oil yang. But I haven't seen yang in a vitamin or an herb, if you will.
Did you look through this?
I probably missed it because I was looking for it.
The first part, it talks about the three treasures, which because of time I wanted to talk about it, but I didn't. And when you get into qi as an energy, that's where the yin and yang comes from. And yin is more feminine, whereas the yang is
so
more masculine.
That made sense because I did look that up. I was like, okay, I've been like that all my life, so.
Maybe it's tied to the estrogen.
Yeah.
It is. A lot of it is. Now that we're, at that point in our study where we're finding out what does what, and what makes a woman, what makes a man, the oxytocins and the cortisols, the estrogens test. Realistically, this would be a good start for balancing.
That seemed like that just had me walking around with snot running out my nose.
You could try
Try it in a droplet?
it in the tank. This you can purchase, and it's a little bit more than this, but I just, once a day, I get it down to about here. And like I said, I just put a little bit under my tongue and I let it sit there for about 2 minutes, and when the taste goes, then I know it's been absorbed, and it's a good way to start, and that helps balance both.
Where do
yin and
you
yang.
get those estrogen and testosterone readings?
Your doctor does it from your blood.
I thought it was like something that
They have some tests, and I haven't bought any of their tests, so I don't know for sure. I know they do a nitric oxide test, which is something as we get older we produce less of it. We do get it from food. I don't have the supplements here that increase that, but that is another energy, and it helps with blood flow and things of that nature. The horny goat weed, there's some cistanche.
I got that one too.
They increase, they help your blood vessels, your capillaries dilate to get wider so that the blood flows to your extremities better. So it's kind of one of those things where with the horny goat weed, my hands get cold real fast, my feet get cold real fast, and when I'm taking that stuff, they don't get cold anywhere near as fast. So it's kind of one of those weird things, but it's because your circulation is improved.
So have
Yes.
you noticed a difference with the pine pollen, since it does a lot with the hormones? Have you noticed a difference with that particular?
Well, like I said, with the weightlifting and not being sore anywhere near as long as I was a couple years ago, that's the main thing that I can tell. Here again, when you start taking a couple at the same time, it's kind of hard which one is doing which to you. So that's why I play with this. Sometimes I take this, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm taking this. Like I said, I stopped taking it while I was taking Tomcat, which is known to boost testosterone. So I wanted to get not take the pine pollen, and that's when I noticed with the Tomcat, I was doing more pull-ups and more push-ups because it increases the testosterone, but then I was getting sore. So now I'm taking both. So, and I'm still waiting for the hair to grow.
We're gonna be watching too.
Would it be growing in other places? I mean,
In other words, they just put hair on your chest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Or your
already,
legs might have more
yeah,
hair.
right, it may not be the head.
Mhm. Your arms are getting a little thick. I have a doctor's appointment, guys. I gotta go.
Anyway,
Are there any more
Running out
questions?
on your,
That was a rhetorical
you're running out on
question.
your speech, don't
Rhetorical.
think that we don't know that.
Oh no, that was Brunner's idea.
Mm.
I
Are
wrote
there-
it down from last week.
Are there any more questions? Because I see we're
I
at
have some, but I'll ask you
Next
later
week.
because we're in the
Next
same
week.
building.
Okay.
So I'll ask you a little later.
Okay. Did you have any more questions?
No, you covered
Okay.
it, covered everything I was
Uh,
interested in, thank you.
Well, if you guys want, I don't have your email address, but Joyce does. I can, if you want this packet, or like I said, this all came from the Lost Empire Herbs. So if you want to go there and just go through, they've got a blog and a podcast, and
Can you email it to us?
Mhm.
I can email you the Lost Empire.
Can't you email those?
I could. That's what I wondered, but they have even more at the website.
You know,
So I can
can't
email
deal with that
this.
much.
Yeah.
So that you can have it sit on your thing and not see it, and then when I ask you about it, I don't remember.
Did you mail it? That's what I'm gonna say.
How about if I just hand it, no, if I hand it to you, put it in your personal.
I'm gonna lose it. But at least I would touch it and it would absorb into my brain like the stuff in your little pot.
You want. I think I'm a little over my time,
Yeah.
and we're getting close to needing to wrap it up, so I'd like to turn it back over to our Toastmaster.